All right, so this is my tool belt setup, and I mostly do concrete work, so this will change. But if you roll up on a job site with most of these tools, you're going to be pretty set up. So this is all connected because I usually work at heights a lot. This is all connected to an ExoFit Strata. Um, so this harness is probably the best one on the market that I've tried because of the aluminum bar in the back, especially when you bring in SRLs. And SRLs are about 9 pounds and they drag down your shoulders. So this bar transfers it right down to your hips. And I I have a bit of a slouch, and then this thing makes me stand up straight. So that's just a personal preference. So hammer loop in the back. I taped over it here so I wouldn't have that metallic clinking like that. So when the hammer rides, it just doesn't sound like anything. Um, so I'll go from right to left. Tape measure. So whatever units you work in, I work in metric and imperial. So I have a combination tape. And then brand is totally up to you. But I usually run Stanley Fatmax, but these DeWalt's, they were pretty cheap in a pack of two. An X-Acto knife. 25 millimeter X-Acto knives are better. The blades are more durable, but they're way less common than the 18 millimeter ones. So if your company has a whole bucket ton of 25 mils, get the 25 mil holder because that is much better. But if they just run 18s, get an 18 because they're roughly about the same price. Torpedo level. Any brand will do. So this really helps out when it comes to obviously you can level and you can plumb certain things with this, but this really helps when it comes to finding weird angles. You can use two pieces of material to find weird angles, but I won't go over that in this video. A scratch awl or a wood awl. That works really good with the chalk line to hold your chalk line in place so you can snap a line. Or you can use a nail, but I just carry this. So, a scaffold wrench, size 19, 22. That works with most of the fasteners that you're going to see in construction. Nail bar. So, if you do any kind of concrete work, your nail bar is going to look similar to this. They get very beat up very quick, and I haven't found a brand that doesn't look like that. A framing square or a speed square. Now this is essential obviously for making the form work. And then brands up to you. An extension, a bit extension. So if you're working in a congested area, this is like a gift from the gods. So you can screw in super congested areas with this. This has saved me more times than I can think of. Great tool to have. Klein pliers. I usually don't use these. Mostly the rod busters use this because they tie a lot of rebar. I'm just mostly doing like occasional ties here and there. So this is more or less for rod busters or people that tie rebar all day. What I usually use is something like this, end cutting pliers. So what you can do is you can twist the wire and then just clamp down, and then it breaks off that end of wire, cuts off that end of wire flush. So that's pretty good. Some kind of sawzall blade. So when you do chamfer, the small pieces like that, if you hit them with a skill saw, sometimes they chip. Also a good thing is if you just want to do something quick, instead of trying to figure out the angle of the chamfer, you can nail it on and then just saw it off flush. So that helps out too. Don't have anything in this pack here. A chalk line, a good quality chalk line. So I stuck with this Takajima Chalkrite. This is probably the only chalk line that I've had that lasted more than 6 months. concrete work is incredibly hard on chalk lines. If you get them wet, or you get form oil in them, or they're covered in concrete, it's going to break your line. So, some kind of bits or bit holders. So, I use Robertson here, and then I just have myself a bit holder. Oh, I just dropped that. And then something to make holes for your ties. So I usually rock 3/4, and then that works pretty good. And then these pouches here are just more or less for fasteners. So my last thing is a crescent wrench. And you're going to want to go a crescent wrench that will open at least 1.25 inches wide, because most of your strong back fasteners are 1.25 inches, and then sometimes they're 1 3/8 inches. So I'm rocking this 12-inch. I believe this is a Jet. Yeah, a Jet, and hasn't stirred me wrong so far. So obviously it'll depend from job to job. Most of the time, like, I don't carry as much as this, because, you know, this setup is getting pretty heavy. But this is just kind of the basis for most of the tools that you're gonna use on a concrete job.